Okay, version 6.0, here we are. We've got it finally. It's been a long wait, but well worth it. We got a lot of really good features in this version, and it's a lot of stuff people have been asking for a long time. So I think people will think it's worth the wait, and will find it very useful in what they're doing every day with the software. So here are our feature list on version 6. HD Overlay, which is without a doubt the killer app in this particular version of the software. What this is going to allow you to do is to take 2D high-resolution images of a preparation and overlay that on top of your ice mode. Makes it very, very easy to mark the margins. Super, super helpful. We now have Dash for All, the Dash feature that wasn't enabled on PlanCAD for folks that had bought the Emerald scanner is now going to be free for everyone, and be able to enable that within version 6. Another really cool feature is the scan swap. We are going to be able to, if we make a mistake and scan something in the upper and it should be the lower, well, now we're going to be able to just change that very quickly with a couple mouse clicks. The mirror feature, mirroring a contralateral tooth or a design, something that we've been asking for many, many, many years. And so if you've got a number 8 that's beautiful and you're prepping number 9, you're going to be able to use the other tooth as your clone, and just swap that over in a mirror fashion. Makes those anterior design cases a little bit easier. The scan distance is a box indicator now. It's a little different. It's the same basic idea. You're looking at color, green being good, red being bad, and there's orange. It's a box highlight, and I'll show you some scan videos so you see what that looks like. Just a little different look to the scanning, but still same kind of idea as what we've been working on. Motion controls is kind of a cool little thing, where we're going to be able to use the scanner to move between different scan types, and also to generate models and look at the ice view and things like that. So a nice little addition. We also have some preferences. We have some control over how the scanner works, and also how that HD overlay photo fires off. So a little bit of ability to customize this to your liking, which is always good. The active filtering has been improved for sure in this version. I find it's working a lot better, but that's a way to kind of remove extraneous tongues and cheeks and all that sort of stuff. And we've got an ability to customize how the low data is displayed. Again, another customization thing, which is very, very handy to have available and have it display the way you'd like it to. All right, so let's take a tour around version 6. We'll kind of run through the different screens here. On the setup screen, not a lot of changes here. We do have a new material that's going to be available in October. That's the ZirCAD, the Emacs ZirCAD. Something that if you're wanting to fiddle around with zirconium in the office, that's available. You will need a sintering oven in order to do that, but it'll be out there, and for those who are interested in looking at that, that's available. The majority of what we're going to see different is in the Scan tab. So over here we're looking at a new scan body scan type. We've been able to send scan bodies to the lab for quite some time, but this is a way that things will be labeled correctly as scan body. What you'll basically do is to scan whichever arch the implant is in, take the healing cap off, scan it, scan this tissue area, proximal contacts, all that sort of stuff. Get that all real nice, and then when you click scan body, it'll kick off time saver, much if you're using it for a clone in the previous versions. And then you just erase out the tissue around the implant, put your scan body on, and then add that to the scan, and then you'll have 2 scans to go to lab, one that will say upper or lower depending upon which arch you're in, and then one that says scan body. And that allows the lab to have that model of the tissue plus now the model of the scan body, and they can overlay them together to properly design that abutment for you, which is really helpful. And this will work. You can send it off to any laboratory you like, whether it's True Abutment or 5-Axis or Atlantis, whoever you're working with. Now, I'm probably not the only one who sometimes would goof up and scan upper into lower or vice versa. And there's now the ability to swap the scans. So if we right-click on any scan, you got to go right on top of the icon. I was kind of frustrated with this. If you click anywhere out here, it doesn't work. But you got to be right on the icon, right-click, and those 2 arrows come up. And now you can kind of drag and drop that scan to the correct place, which is very helpful. I don't have to call support anymore and have them on the phone for a bunch of time talking me through or going through and fixing that problem for me. So that gives us all a little bit of more ease of use. Now we also have some new tools down in here. One being this settings bar or settings icon, and this gives you some ability to customize. So we're talking about the HD snapshot a little bit in the intro. So this is done by hovering over the tooth, and if you hover for long enough, and the scanner will kick off and grab a 2D image. Now you can change the delay as to how soon that happens down here, also how sensitive things are to motion. So I've been finding that I really want to have that delay pretty short so that it captures quickly, because if my hand moves or the patient moves, that whole process of getting the thing started to catch the snapshot we'll have to restart again. It doesn't take very long, but I just find this works well for me, but it's a setting, so you find the thing that works for you, and then you apply it to the ice. Here's where you'd enable your dash for the PlanCAD users. You kind of come here, click it, close the software, reopen it, and you should be good to go. This is where you'd have the ability to kind of customize how those holes in the data are showing up. So you can set it how you like that to display. Also here, the model resolution, basically the sharpness of the model. You can kind of move this around and see how that likes. No effect on the fit no matter where it is, just how you like to look at the data. So that's available here in version 6. You're also going to see a lot of these top and bottom type things here. This is referencing the top and bottom buttons on the Emerald scanner. OK, top button, bottom cancel, obviously. You can still use the mouse and keyboard. But what we have now with the Emerald scanner is the ability to do some motion control and kind of move through the screens without having to touch the mouse or the keyboard, which is handy for being aseptic and all. So I'm going to grab my scanner and show you how some of that works. Bottom button of the scanner now, if we click that bottom button, it'll kind of roll you through the different scan types. So if you're going from your top to the bottom, or your prep to your buccal bite, or however you're going, you can do that now all with the scanner. You don't have to do any mouse and keyboard for that, which is really nice. It's a real quick to kind of flip between them, so it's a little bit of a time saver as well. Now if I click and hold both top and bottom buttons on the Emerald scanner and rotate my wrist, I now have these options here. I can bring up my color ice mode, I can bring up my data density, get rid of my data density, get rid of my ice mode. All can be done with the scanner now, and we can also generate the model after we finish scanning, and we can delete the data if we really don't like it. I'm not going to delete my data here though, because I've got a good scan. So that allows us to do a lot of that stuff with the scanner and keep our gloves on and not worry about contaminating our keyboard. Then we look down here, a few more settings. We've got the active delete, or the hot dog filter as people like to call it. This has been refined quite a bit, and this is again, you activate this with the bottom button of the scanner while you're scanning, and you want to use this in short bursts. You don't want to turn it on. You can turn it on right here with a keyboard. You don't want to do that. You want to just kind of clean it. This is if you got a little bit of cheek or tongue or finger you want to delete. Turn it on with that bottom button, get rid of the piece of tissue that you want to get rid of, turn it off, and then I would scan back over that area again just to make sure you've got the data nice and clean. So this is a handy thing, but just be careful not to overuse it. We also have the scan model mode, very important with Emerald. You have to turn this on. If you try to scan a model with Emerald on full power, it won't come out very well. We also have the color calibration that's been in many versions. I don't find I have to calibrate color very often, but that's there if it needs to happen. So let's look at this. This is a model that I scanned last week, or a tooth I scanned last week. This is with the HD overlay. And I took this with the slimline tip. So this is actually kind of a couple pictures that I took, because the slimline tip, very, very handy in getting into access areas, but it's a little smaller and it's a little closer to the tooth. So you have to, sometimes with a bigger molar like this, have to take a couple images, but that's really easy to do, so not a big deal. But what you're seeing here very nicely is this HD overlay is giving us a super easy margin to mark. If we kind of take that on and off again, you can see that around the distal of this tooth, we have an area that's kind of, let's say, nondescript as to where that margin is. But if we turn on that ice view, now it's real easy to see where that margin is, and that's very handy. So this is a big improvement on the color performance of the PlanCAD software from version 5.9 to 5.6. So this, I think, people are going to really find is helpful. The other nice thing, this is saving the 2D image. So in Romexis, if you go to your patient and look at their 2D images, you will see the 2D image, and I'll show you what some of those look like here in just a minute. You'll be able to save those. So if you needed to send a 2D image to an insurance company, let's say this tooth had a fracture in here, and that's the reason you're doing the crown on the tooth, you can go ahead and grab that 2D image and send it off to the insurance company. It's a really nice, basically intraoral camera picture, and that will give a insurance company less reasons to argue with you, which is always nice. So that's this. I think right now this is the killer feature in this version of the software. So very, very, very handy. That pretty much sums up everything we're going to see here in the scan screen. Margin screen really is going to be the same, really no differences there. You will, if you're going to do, and I said I'll shoot a video of this, if you're going to be using the contralateral clone, there is one click box in here that you have to deal with, but I'll show you that in a future video exactly how to do that. But you'd start with your clone editing here. And other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. PlanTab is, again, one of the features from earlier on that's very, very helpful. Design, everything else is the same. So next I'll show you some scan video, some actual live scanning video to see that scan box and some of those HD images. Okay, here's some scan video. Again, this is the slimline tip, and you can kind of notice that in the under the Emerald scanner icon, that little swirly doodad. That's an indication of the slimline tip. You can see this is scanning pretty well. You can see that green box. That's what you're going to see now for your indication of where you're at for the scanning. And again, scans very well. This is the slimline. I'm finding it very, very easy to get into places and grab my images. And then here we're going to start to grab some of those 2D images. I'm hovering over the tooth, and I just kind of snap that picture. So that's what that 2D imaging will look like. You can kind of see it, and that we'll grab that image. And here are what some of those 2D images would look like in Romexis. So if you go over to your patient and go to 2D, you'll now see these images are stored there, and you're able to access those and export them and do whatever you'd want to there. It really does give a nice image to utilize, and just one additional feature that you can use your scanner for, basically acting like a nice high-quality intraoral camera. So lots of cool stuff in this version, and I think we'll have a lot more videos to kind of show as time goes on this, and show you how to use the contralateral clone and some of those type of things. But this should be available fairly soon for download. Actually, I think SOS will have to jump in and install this for you, but it'll be a pretty easy update. I've been doing some of the validation testing on this now for the last couple months, and looks like we've got all the bugs are all worked out of it. Basically, if I can't break it, nobody can break it. So it should be a pretty stable release for everybody, and I hope you all enjoy it. It really should help to make things easier. I know for me it has been a huge help, probably one of the most significant updates we've had in a couple of years for the software. So enjoy, get this downloaded, and happy scanning.